Hi everyone and welcome to this session as a part of TU Dublin's CAO Open Day 2020. You're all very welcome to this special panel where you're going to be hearing about the experiences of students across a range of different undergraduate programs here in TU Dublin. We also have a couple of graduates joining us today who could talk to you about the careers that they've gone into as well. Hi guys.
Hi.
So let's ask some questions and let's start with Colin. Colin, tell us why you chose TU Dublin.
Hi Dan, thanks very much. Yeah, one of the many reasons I chose TU Dublin was because they have three campuses available to students across Dublin and across Ireland. Geographically, I wanted to be in Dublin, so that helped me. I also live from Cavan, and the first campus available to me in Dublin is the TU Dublin Blanchardstown campus. At the time I was making my decision, I was training on the campus with Bohemian soccer team, so I could see firsthand the facilities available. I could also see some of the lecture halls, the lecture rooms. So I was impressed with what I saw, and ultimately that played a big factor in me making my decision to come to TU Dublin Blanchardstown campus.
Okay, great. Thanks, Colin. Jeff, we'll go to you. You know, TU Dublin isn't a traditional university. We're a new kind of university. We're Ireland's first technological university. So can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
Yeah, thanks, Utain. When you speak about TU Dublin, obviously it's now Ireland's largest university. But the great thing is, being with the largest university, we still have small class sizes, which are very beneficial, especially when you're joining in first year, when you might not know many people. You'll feel more comfortable, where you'll be able to ask questions, and the lecturers will also be very happy to help you. Another thing about TU Dublin is the fact that they're prioritizing technology. So I know a lot of you will probably be coming into college with an interest in technology and how you can apply that. So those would be the two things that would stand out for me when I try to differentiate TU Dublin from the other colleges.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Megan, can you tell us what attracted you to business?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Utain. So I suppose to any students out there, I would say that in the beginning, when I was filling out my CAO, I wasn't sure what I wanted to go for. And so I actually was going for a science degree and took a year out. And in my year out, in my gap year, I was working full time in Kildare Village, and I got very interested in the business side of my job, which made me reevaluate my choices. And I decided I would like to do a business degree, but I didn't want to just do any generic business degree. I wanted something quite specialized and something that would give me a lot of opportunities when I graduated. And that's how I came across the Logistics and Supply Chain Management degree in TU Dublin, and saw how specialized it was, but how it had such a broad range of modules in it. So I got to study a little bit of everything from accounting to health and safety to transport. And that's what really attracted me then to studying business in TU Dublin.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Matt, you studied abroad. You went to Korea, we heard in our academic panel earlier today.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what actually happens when you go on a study abroad experience in TU Dublin?
Yeah. So, I mean, even from the get-go, as soon as you give us a lecture in second year explaining the necessary steps to get to secure your placement or to go away, it all gets really exciting. And then as soon as you leave to go away to whichever college, and I mean there's so many choices between almost every single country in Europe, and Australia, Argentina, Korea, America, loads of different states in the USA, it all just becomes really exciting. And it can be a bit nerve-wracking because not every student has had the opportunity to live on their own or be solely responsible for themselves. Like myself, I've been living at home until then and hadn't had the opportunity to really go somewhere by myself. And in going away, you really develop new skills in meeting people, taking care of yourself, whether that be the day-to-day stuff, also new ways of learning, new types of culture like language and food, and really how to become more diverse as a person no matter what environment you're thrown into. So I felt that as amazing as the whole experience was, getting to see all these amazing historical parts of the country, or going to see all these new technological parts of the country, because Korea is at the moment the 9th strongest economy in the world. You really just get a whole experience, and it gives you new skills along with that, which really changes you as a person for the better, I feel.
That's amazing. Thanks a million, Matthew. And so many of our courses here in TU Dublin have the opportunity to study abroad. But, you know, it's not just about study abroad. We try and build the global perspective into everything that we do. So whether that's the syllabus of a particular subject that you're studying, or whether that's engaging with some kind of competition. Megan, you had a brilliant experience with an international competition. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I actually had a really unique opportunity that came out of my time in TU Dublin, and it involved me representing Ireland on a global scale when I travelled to the World Skills competition in Kazan in Russia last August. So I competed here in Ireland in national skills, and I won national skills. In my category was freight forwarding. I then went through the selection process and was picked then to represent Ireland on the global scale, and travelled over to Russia, where I then competed in the freight forwarding category there against big global players such as Brazil, Germany, China, Russia. The competition took place over 4 days, and we were placed in a real work simulated environment. So obviously against the best of the best in the world. And after 4 very tough days of competition, I'm very glad to say I came out and I was crowned the gold medal winner. So I am currently ranked as #1 in the world for freight forwarding and logistics.
Absolutely brilliant, Megan. What a fantastic story. I love it. Rebecca, looking back to when you were in 5th and 6th year, and I, you know, Rebecca is one of our graduates, so she probably has to look back a little bit further than some of the others, but not too far. Rebecca, what advice would you have liked to hear when you were thinking about what to put on your CAO form?
Thanks, Etain. I suppose I have a few little words of wisdom to pass down, shall I say. I suppose the first thing I was thinking of was to get familiar with the CAO form. It can sound very daunting. The word is thrown around an awful lot, but I mean, just sit down in front of the computer and actually get to know how to navigate it, where the courses are, what codes, where you'd have to fill them in, and especially the closing dates, either for amending the form or any other closing dates that might be coming up. And then in terms of actually filling out the form, I was trying to think, you know, how would you go about it? So what I would say is think of yourself in your career. What would you like to actually do? Rather than looking at the subjects that you like, think of the career you'd like to be working in. And once you have your career, then work backwards and look at the courses that could lead you to that career. And then once you know what courses you're looking at, then look at where these courses are and then the reputation of each one of them. So in particular in TU Dublin, you have the 3 options of the 3 campuses. You've Blanchardstown, Tala, or Dublin City Centre. So they might be significant factors as well. And then not only when you're looking at the course that would give you the right career that you're looking for, but think of the complementary skills that would come along with it. Somebody mentioned earlier on about IT skills, and I think that's so important. And at TU Dublin, they don't just focus on the theory of the course, and what they really look at is the student in general. And the courses delivery are applied in nature. And what I mean by that is that they actually teach you what you'll be doing in the workplace. It's extremely practical. They would teach you lots of IT skills, what information systems would be used in the workplace, communication skills, because we're all going to be working with different kinds of people. And TU Dublin are hoping that by the end of your course, that you will be holistically be ready for the business environment. You'll have the whole package. Another thing that I would say is that, okay, so you select your course and maybe you weren't sure then after all, but the point I want to make is that you can't make a mistake on education. So get in there and select a course, and if it's not for you, the education and the way things are set up in TU Dublin, it's very flexible. So if you go into the university and you're not 100% sure, there are different exit points within the course structure. So for example, if you can go in at a level 6 and exit at a level 6, or you can decide to add on a level 7, or you can decide to leave at level 7. So, or else you can go on to level 8. So there's loads of options. It's very flexible. They work off what's called the ladder system. So you can go in at level 6, option to level 7, option to level 8. And it's sort of if you don't want to commit to a full 4 years at the beginning, just if you're unsure, because let's face it, when you're in there and when you get a feel for it, that's when you'll really know if that's for you. And on the back of that as well, when you're in there, get involved. So join the clubs and societies, get to know your student union, maybe get involved with the student council, and get involved with the social scene. I mean, college could end up being the best years of your life, so make the absolute most of them, because this is where this is the last stop, I suppose, before you commit to a career. So enjoy it and be open-minded, take in as much as you can and meet everybody that you can when you're there.
Thanks a million, Rebecca. And you know, it's interesting, you say it's the last stop before your career, but really it's only the beginning, isn't it? And Rebecca, you've raised a really important point there, and that's that we've got lots of flexible pathways to education here in TU Dublin. And those pathways do differ depending on the course that you want to take. So we have a range of entry points at 6, at 7 and at 8. You might come in on a higher certificate programme and then go to a level 8 programme 2 years from then. You can find out more about those pathways by clicking into our content bank and taking a look under the hood of our specific programmes. So thanks a million, Rebecca. That's really helpful. And I think our CAO students are probably taking notes. Another thing I thought that was really important, Rebecca, that you raised is that the choices that you put down on your first draft of your CAO, well, you don't have to stick with them. Don't forget that you've got the change of mind form, and you can fill in that change of mind later on in the summer. So you still have plenty of time to make your decisions, but attending events like today is a step in the right direction. So, Joseph, we've let you off the hook until now. Joseph, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're studying and what it is about that area that appeals to you?
Yeah, thanks, Attain. So I'm studying economics and finance. I'm in the city campus. I'm currently in my final year. It's a 3-year because usually you do go abroad if you want the previous year, but for us it was unfortunately around the time that COVID hit. So a lot of people took the option to just graduate in 3 years instead of 4. So I think for me, the most interesting area I suppose I'm more leaning towards the finance side of things now, is just the global nature of finance and economics in itself. If you graduate with a degree in any of these areas, even business in general, you can really go all over the world. There's financial centers. Closest one to us would probably be in London. We have the IFSC here. New York is a famous financial center, as well as Asia. Singapore is becoming one of the newest financial capitals in the world. So I think it's really interesting how a degree from TU Dublin in economics and finance can take you really anywhere all over the world.
Okay, great. And there's some great initiatives in accounting and finance, Joseph, and Student Managed Fund is one of them. Have you been involved in that initiative?
Yes. So like Rebecca was saying, in first year, I didn't want to just kind of go to my lectures and my tutorials. I wanted to try and get involved in something else to try and augment my experience. So I was looking through societies, and I knew I was interested in the area of, investing money and managing money. So I found the Student Managed Fund had just been set up by Alistair, who is a property economics student actually, who had set up the Investors and Entrepreneurs Society in DIT just that very year. So I was kind of lucky with the timing of it. So I decided to sign up for the Student Managed Fund back in first year 2 years ago. So the way it works is it's run by a company called Goodbody Stockbrokers. They're the oldest stockbrokers in Ireland, and they organize a competition every year where they go around, they give talks to groups of students who form investment funds and get them set up on a virtual investment platform with virtual currency. So this year we were given a virtual $1 million to invest. And then throughout, I think it's from generally when semester 1 starts, September, October through to March usually is when the competition runs for. And so basically the funds themselves are tasked with coming up with an investment strategy based off the information that Goodbody give. They give really good seminars throughout the year on investment strategy. And then we have to implement that investment strategy by going onto the online platform and investing in certain companies that we think will outperform over the long run. And then throughout that September to March period, we have to give presentations to TU Dublin academic staff, as well as professionals from Goodbody that come in and watch, which is really great because they obviously are in the industry themselves, and they'll ask you very, very tough questions. So you have to know your stuff. So I started out as an analyst, which is what most people will start out as. So your job will probably be to listen to your fund manager, your fund head, who will work with the CIO, who is kind of second in command, to come up with the investment strategy. And then they will tell you what sort of companies that they're looking to invest in. So as an analyst in my first year in 2018, I was tasked with looking at property companies in the UK. So I was interested, but I didn't really know. So I had to kind of go through a crash course on like valuing a company and picking ones that I think would outperform, which was really interesting, and it really brought me on. I think the best thing about it, though, is that it really helps you make a link between the theory you're learning in your lectures and putting it into practice then throughout the competition, so that by the time I finished, it was only a 6-month competition, but by March, when the competition finished, I felt like I knew much more than just a first year should know. I felt more experienced, and actually in first year we managed to come second in the national competition, and we raised, I think, €5,000 for Pieta House, which is the prize. So whoever wins, I think it's the top 3 get varying levels of money that Goodbody will donate directly to a charity of the university's choice, and we chose Pieta House. So that's another great reason to get involved. And this year I'm actually the CEO of the fund, so I've kind of come a long way from being a first year, just getting involved in it. So now I'm running, I think we have 5 or 6 funds this year across, that include first years, second years, third years, and we even have a dedicated master's fund. So I'm finding it a new challenge to try and manage all of that along with my final year.
Wow, that's amazing, Joseph. That sounds like you're definitely having the real world experience that we talk about here in TU Dublin. Let's change tack a bit. Colin, what was the biggest surprise to you about studying business?
I think many people might think it's boring, but it's not, because I think many of the students have actually spoke about so many different areas than rather than just what people might think is just numbers, you know, and like that, it gives you so many different opportunities to open your eyes to how you're actually going to use it later on in your life when you start working. For me, I was always interested in the accounting. I'm more accounting than anything else. However, you know, the other modules that you pick up, a bit of IT, like it's IT is now so important, as we've seen over the last couple of months. Economics, what's going on around the world, web design, so many different things, even like languages as well, like picking up languages. So I think many people might think that business is just complete numbers, but it's not. It opens so many different avenues, and there's so many different ways that what you learn, you can put into other practice, you can put into other perspectives. So I think that, in my opinion, you can't really go wrong with a business degree. You may find it tough, there's no doubt about it. However, it will stand to you in life. It will give you great perspectives on how you can use it later on, but also a deeper understanding of why you're learning it. And for me, I definitely really enjoy it.
Thanks, Colin. That's really interesting. Matthew, let's hear a little bit about, let's see, a piece of assessment that you've done. Matthew, I know you're in your final year on the business and management degree. So I think people would be really interested to hear an example of what a piece of assessment you might do just in your day-to-day would be.
Yeah, so in our final year, we have the option to take on the applied project, which is almost similar to a dissertation. It's got a literature review with a contextualization, and it's 15,000 words. And I know now, for those who are probably not in college, sounds like, oh my God, that's a really daunting task to take on, and you never think you'd be able for it. But as you come through the years in college, you'll find that the learning pathways bring you to a point where you're definitely capable of doing it. And then, as Dr. Owen O'Grady explains at the start of the year, in taking the project, you can really use it as a tool in your CV or through interview to really get you to a point where you want to be, because the lecturers and those who are working with you on your project trust in you to pick the topics you want to do it on and the areas of business you want to explore. So in this year so far, I've felt like I've been managing really well with it. And I also, since going away, because of the whole in South Korea, fashion is such a large part of the culture, I already found myself finding a new hobby and an interest in it after coming home. So I've taken the opportunity now to do my applied project in and around luxury brands and the use of merger and acquisition to create a conglomerate to succeed within the industry. And so far, I'm enjoying every single second of it, and I have absolutely no problem doing it at all.
That sounds brilliant, Matthew. Good luck with the rest of your project.
Thanks.
Let's talk a little bit more to our graduates, because you guys are actually putting your skills into action. Maybe, Rebecca, I want to talk to you a bit about career opportunities, but maybe Megan, can you talk to us a little bit first about the skills that you built up for industry when you were studying business?
Yeah, definitely. So I have to say there are so many skills that I picked up during my time in TU Dublin. As the others were saying earlier, business isn't just all numbers and reading theory and getting stuck down in the boring day-to-day. There's so much more to it, and the wide variety of modules lead you to learn so many skills. So not only do you become really strong in the likes of your Microsoft Office applications like Excel and PowerPoint, you also get to learn kind of, as Rebecca said earlier, you get a holistic education. So I feel like I came away with so much more than just a knowledge base. I came around with so many life skills. So through the different activities that I did in college, you really learn to develop your communication and your interpersonal skills. You learn to work really well as a team because you do so many different group projects throughout your time in TU Dublin. And that's an opportunity you wouldn't always get in bigger universities. So I think that's so valuable. And I know the skills I learned at that have really transferred over into my day-to-day career, because since graduating, I've spent time with DHL Global Forwarding, and I'm now in Lidl Ireland, and I'm in their logistics department. And not only do I work in their head office project team, but I also spend my time spread across the 4 warehouses across Ireland dealing with the warehouse teams. And each warehouse, you have up to 200 people, and you're going to have to interact with them. You're going to be trying to roll out projects that are going to impact on everyone. And the skills that you learn in TU Dublin then are transferable to those tasks. And as I mentioned earlier, the skills that I learned in TU Dublin also helped me to go on and win the World Skills Championship, which is obviously really speaks for itself to show that even up against the big global players in the world, that my education TU Dublin brought me the whole way through and helped me to win gold. So there's just so many skills there that you won't even realize you're learning along the way, and it'll only be in hindsight that you really appreciate them.
Thanks, Megan. That really brings us back, Rebecca, to what you were saying about transferable skills and about building up those things that are going to be so important. And one of the things that you said earlier really struck me. You were talking about communication skills and collaboration skills. And, you know, it's not just the communication skills that you need to communicate with other people around you. It's actually about intrapersonal skills, communicating with yourself and learning to manage your time, to manage your career, to manage your ideas. And I think that you're so right. The transferable skills in TU Dublin are really, it's something special that we create in the classroom here. And Rebecca, I wanted to come back to you because I'd like to talk to you a bit more about career opportunities. What do you see as big career opportunities at the moment in business?
Well, thank you. I would say that, first of all, business is such a varied subject. I mean, when you think of business, you could be hitting so many different kind of disciplines. There's, I mean, just a few ones are marketing, accounting and finance, management, international business. Under marketing, you could be looking after brand management. You could be looking after international marketing, advertising. In accounting and finance, which is the sector that I've just entered into, you could go into practice, which is where you actually go working for an accounting firm and you do the accounts for other businesses, or you could go directly into industry, which is where you go into a business and go into their accounting department. You could also choose to go down the finance route, where you could be looking at, say, managing investments or business strategies, which was also mentioned earlier on. Then under management, I mean, you could be specifically managing areas in the services sector, maybe in retail or hospitality, or in the manufacturing sector, maybe food processing. And often management graduates then can also become heads of individual departments in business, for example, head of the marketing department, sales department, human resources even. And the guys were talking earlier on about the international side of business. I mean, the opportunities that arise are incredible, particularly as well if you choose to study a language alongside your business course. I mean, you can travel all over the world with that. You could decide to go further and do a master's or a postgraduate diploma or a doctorate even. You could do a master's in education, become a teacher. But I think one of the really main things to note about business is that because the business as itself is so versatile and so vast, that even if you choose to specifically study one part of business, the skills are so transferable that you could get or make a career in another part of business entirely, because the course and the discipline is so flexible like that. And in particular in TU Dublin, we have the general entry business option, which is where you can come into first year, you do business in general, and you can basically have a flavour of all the different disciplines before you decide then at the end of first year that, okay, this is marketing is the route I want to go, or accounting is the route I want to go. Because it can be hard to know straight off the bat which particular area you want to go into, because it can be so vast. So that option is there for you in TU Dublin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a million, Rebecca. That's great. And just to remind you guys, when you're starting to think about what program you want to do, you can jump into the content bank and you can take a deeper look at all of the programs. You can take a look, as Rebecca says, at the general entry programs that are available in Blanchardstown and Tala. And you can also take a look at the city programs that are very discipline specific. Really, there are, as Rebecca said, infinite possibilities for business graduates coming off our programs. And that's something that we're really proud of. But I'm interested to know if you always wanted to study business. Who here studied business studies for the Leaving Cert? Stick your hand up. Just me and Jeff, is it? Okay. And I think it's really important that even if you're sitting watching our open day today and you haven't done business studies, our doors are open and we don't expect you to have business studies when you come here. I'm sure it might help you know some of the language before you sit in the classroom, but we certainly don't expect it. And I think that you'll find you can hit the ground running no matter what. I've got just a couple more questions, guys. Joseph, I've got a question for you. Did your chosen career path change as you got stuck into your program, or are you still heading in the same direction that you thought you would when you were a Leaving Cert student?
Yeah, thanks, Attain. So I suppose I am still heading in the general direction that I had kind of mapped out by the time I was filling out my CAO. I suppose I was one of the lucky ones that in that I kind of knew the specific area that I wanted to get into before I had started college. So I actually became quite interested in finance and investing in fifth year, I think it was. I can't remember what book I read. It might have been something in an accounting book or something in school. But I became really interested in finance and investments, and I read as much as I could about them online. And then, so when it came to filling out my CAO, there was only really a few specific like economics or finance courses in the country. One of them being in UCD. I think UCD have an identical course called Economics of Finance. The only problem with that course was that I think at the time of my CAO it was 580 points, and I believe since then it's gone up to over 600 points, which is it's quite unattainable for a lot of people. I was one of those people. So I saw that DIT at the time had a identical course for I think 450 points. With the exact same modules that I would have been doing if I had gotten 600 points and gone to UCD. So and it was also closer to me. So I put that to the top of my CAO, and luckily enough, I did well in my Leaving Cert, and I got enough points to come to TU Dublin. And then from then on, I kind of decided to kind of make a rough plan for like the next 5 years in terms of where I wanted to go. So I knew I wanted to end up in finance in some capacity. And then as I evolved going through with the student managed fund in first year, I knew that I wanted to kind of look into managing money, asset management. And so I did some preliminary research, and a lot of the jobs there are in London, would be the closest to ours for the top like investment banks and so on. So I needed to figure out a route to get there. So thanks to TU Dublin, the lecturers have great connections in the industry. I actually became quite friendly with Sean O'Reilly, who's the assistant head of the School of Accounting and Finance. And he's been a big help to me in kind of pointing me in the right direction in terms of even what specific modules I should be taking after first year, in terms of making myself as attractive as possible to those future employers.
Okay, from CAO to CEO, Joseph. I've just given you the title of your first memoir. You're welcome.
That's a good one.
Jeff, I've got another question for you. What advice do you have for CAO applicants on choosing the right program for them?
The first thing I'd tell them is take your time. I think there is a lot of pressure when you're in sixth year, because maybe a couple of people in class already know the route that they want to go down, and so you feel like you need to rush and fill out the form and send it in. So I'd be the same when I was in sixth year. I knew I wanted to do something with business. I knew I was going to business. I knew sciences was definitely what I was not going to do, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm majoring right now in accounting and finance. If you had asked me that 3 years ago, probably I would have told you no. So that's another great thing about TU Dublin is you join in. For example, in my course, Matthew and I in the same course, he's taking a different route, and I'm going a different route. So in first and second year, you're going to get an opportunity to do HR, to do marketing, to do accounting, and then when you get to third year, you can specialize in what you want. I'd say consult your career advisor if you have one. They're always great in terms of pointing to you in where your strengths might be and in what career choice you want to go. If you had, like in my own path, I consulted with some of my friends who were in the same secondary school who came into TU Dublin maybe a year ahead of me, and asked them how the experience was. So that helped me make choice, as well as the TU Dublin website is full of a lot of information. You can go specifically, even for example, the business and management course, and it shows you what modules you do in first year, in second year, in third year, in fourth year. And when you come into college, just keep an open mind. There's many opportunities. Matthew would decide to go on a year abroad. I decided the placement. We're in the same course. So, you're going to have a lot of opportunities. So just research as wide as you can, and then as you make your choice, as Rebecca said, look at which career path do you want to go to, as opposed to maybe the subjects that you were 100% good at. Just look at which degree would give you the best chance to be competitive in the market, because times are changing. It's becoming more competitive for young people. So just take your time and you'll make the right choice.
Yeah. That's great. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks, everyone. I'm going to do one last question, and I'm going to do a quick fire. When I call your name, I want you to tell me the one best thing, the biggest highlight for you of studying at TU Dublin. Matthew.
Going to Korea has changed my life for the better, I'd like to say, and that was an opportunity given to me by TU Dublin.
Colin?
Definitely the people and environment there. It makes it for me. It's 4 years, so if you get along with the people and the environment in it, it makes it so much easier.
Brilliant. Megan?
Definitely the opportunities in TU Dublin. Obviously, getting to go to World Skills was something I never ever thought possible. So the opportunities that TU Dublin offer are just fantastic.
Great. Jeff?
I'd say it's the growth you experience. Just like everybody else, I also had an international experience in second year. I got to represent TU Dublin in San Francisco through another society called Enactus, which is a social enterprise, and I've just done the case competition last week. So you really do grow from the time. It's not just the academics, it's the transferable skills that you're going to take with you as well into industry. So that would be my highlights.
Thanks. Rebecca?
I would have to say the lecturers. I absolutely love them. I love that you could pick their brain at any time, and they have so much knowledge. And Joseph, you mentioned they've great contacts as well, so they really guide you in the right way to go with your career. Yeah.
Okay, Joseph, last
Yeah.
but not least.
Yeah, I definitely echo Rebecca. The small class sizes for me was great in first and second year, because I had a lot of questions, and lecturers are always happy to stay back after class for 10 minutes if you're stuck on a concept and to help you wrap your head around it. So yeah, that really helped me when I joined.
Okay, a big shout out to the people from TU Dublin, as you know, is a really big, important part of what we do here, along with our partnerships and along with thinking about the planet that we live on. Thanks again, guys, for joining our panel. To all of you watching as part of our CAO Open Day, don't forget your next stop is the content bank. So drop in, take a look at all of our different programs across business at TU, and pick the program that's right for you. Figure out the next steps, whether that's to contact the program chair or whether it's to find out a little bit more about that discipline. We've been really delighted to get to speak to you and see you all here this morning. So thanks again, folks. You can pop a question in the chat box if you have one, and one of our lecturers will come back to you. Thanks, guys, and goodbye.
No worries. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.